that kind of stuff as well, and what we've been up to.
General chit chat about game. What have we been up to? We can see the only one who has been enlightened amongst us is actually Mr. M, because he's sitting there with a halo on his head because he's in Ukraine. Myself and Troy sat in London with our proverbial dicks in our hands.
Not even
and
proverbial.
Respected. No, we are
proverbial, like genuine.
Well, I'm off to Barcelona tomorrow to watch another man sign his life away. Probably we'll do that thing where you have that sad trumpet playing for a minute, and you have everyone just stands looking at the thing, like Remembrance Day.
Mr. M, you might want to mute yourself while you're not speaking because there's a bit of background noise from the cafe.
Gotcha.
That's a good idea. I forgot that was an option. It's great to see both you fine fellows again. Troy, any new news from the front line, and what's your plan for the next few days, week or so, weeks?
Well, I'm here in London, obviously today, tomorrow. I got some appointments, stuff to do, blah blah blah. I am probably going to be jetting off to Poland on Saturday for a couple of nights to follow up with some business there, and I may even be popping back into Berlin before I head over to Kiev. To meet with Mr. M. So there's exciting times ahead.
Very cool. So closing some loops. Closing
those loops.
Closing those loops. And Mr. M, how has your experience been in a while?
James, can you repeat that last thing? Got cut off for a sec.
Yeah, so how's Kiev been? How long have you been there for? Have you been finding it all? This is your first time in Ukraine, so it'll be interesting for you to kind of tell the guys what's been going on.
Yeah, well, actually, I went to Odessa a couple years ago. So
that's true. That is true. I remember seeing a photo of you sitting with a hot girl and a shisha pipe, and that was the one trip photo I saw, but that was the only photo I needed to shoot. So.
Exactly.
How does it compare to Odessa?
Yeah, I mean, Kiev obviously being the capital, major city. This is, creme de la creme of probably the hottest girls, here, Russia, Brazil. I mean, not much more areas actually beat here. Lots of cuties around. It's been fun. And you guys know, you've been to Ukraine. It's a little bit more rougher around the edges.
Right.
But in a good way. You're in a new environment. It's pretty exciting here. Overall, it's been a lot of fun, and I just been it's been good, and I can't wait until, we get some of the others to come here to see that for themselves, because when we say that some of the hottest girls are here in Ukraine, it's no joke. It's by all means, seriously.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't know about kind of the quality, they've obviously been living under Rob. I guess the concern some people may have would be, oh, well, I've heard Ukraine is getting burnt out because, there's loads of people charging around the equivalent of Oxford Street. So how have you been finding that? Have you been finding certain sections of the city have been overrun, or has it's a bit of a myth and still really very few guys actually cold approach? And even the ones that do, it doesn't really matter because women are women and they respond, to a good, a guy approaching well. How have you kind of found that? Have you had any issues around that?
It's a little bit of a myth. There's been maybe one instance where the girl is like, hey, I've already been approached a few times today. But no, I think it's a little bit of a myth. As long as, obviously, you're the guy that she wants to meet, she doesn't really care. And I've also been kind of exploring some other parts of the city. So it's not just that main street where you pretty much charge up and down. Obviously, it's still a good street, but I've been finding some other areas like good shopping centers, kind of like outlet areas, other streets, and girls are a lot more receptive because obviously nobody's approaching there. So I've been doing a little bit of exploring. But yeah, overall, yes, I have seen other guys actually been approaching, and I'm sure there's other people doing this here, but it's a big city. There's a lot of girls, so I don't think it's too much of a big issue. Maybe the occasional, you might run into like one girl who kind of gets annoyed because she's already been approached a couple times, but that's only few and far between, so not that big of an issue at all.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's a really, really big city, and and we saw, didn't we, in Poland? Do you remember when a student that we were working with approached a girl at a cafe, and he sat down with her at the cafe, and they had a conversation, and this guy was pretty. I'm sure he won't mind me saying, he was pretty new to this whole thing, and so the he actually, sorry, he didn't even sit down with her, but he was talking to her for a bit at the cafe. Didn't really go anywhere. He came away, and then that was it. And we debriefed him. And then this other guy, a few minutes later, went in, and this guy was a little bit more experienced with his obviously day game and approaching, and actually ended up sitting down with the girl and having an instant date with her.
Yeah,
and this was literally like about 5 minutes after she'd been approached by that first guy. So our guys, it was. So it just goes to show that this whole myth that, if she's been approached before, then it's going to be a deal breaker. It's not the case. If she likes you, and again, we go back to the proverbial Leonardo DiCaprio, right? If she's been approached by 5 guys and then Leonardo DiCaprio comes up, she's not going to say to Leo, "Oh, sorry, I've been approached by loads of guys today. I'm not interested." So if you're bringing that value, through your demeanor, through your approach, etc., she's going to be receptive regardless.
Definitely.
How have you found the initial approach compared to Warsaw? Are the blowouts quite fast, or do the girls humor you? I mean, the extreme end of that would be Helsinki, where they stand literally for half an hour because they're too polite, so you say to go away. Whereas Russia, they can be quite fast with "I'm not interested." They really respect it because it's that feminine masculine polarity, but they're like, "Look, I'm not interested." So where does it kind of sit on that scale?
Yeah, so definitely it's not Helsinki. So if you value your time, the girls will make sure to give your time back quite quickly.
That's good.
So yes, the the blowouts are a little bit more harsh than Poland and Germany, but they're not harsh in a sense where the girl yells at you or something. They just say they just walk away, or they say no English or whatever. Again, not in a bad way, but they just pretty much is on point though. So that's why you're dealing with probably some of the hottest girls in the world. So your stop has to be on point. You kind of have to know what you're doing a little bit. So I found that the blowouts are quite quickly. But for the ones who are interested, obviously, they're very receptive. So I think that, again, it's a little bit of a higher league here. But I think that comparing it to Poland and Germany, yes, you are going to get a little bit more blowouts. They're not harsh. They're just going to, save their time and your time by just walking away. So that's the biggest difference that I've noticed so far. I mean, I knew this because I was in Odessa, but I kind of already knew this. Coming in, but this is just for anybody who's never been here to Ukraine, that this is just a little bit, when you're dealing with hotter girls, this is what you're going to deal with.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, really. I mean, it's good in a sense, so you want to know where you stand quickly, right? So,
yeah, there's she's not just going to talk to you for 10 to 15 minutes to be friendly or practice her English or something. No, it's quite quickly, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And then by extension of that, how would you guys compare, let's say, Ukrainian girls to US women? You're well placed because you're originally from the US, Mr. M. So how does it stack up when you've seen both extremes of the of the East meets West?
Yeah, I mean, like
John MLD style rant now. 10 minutes.
Yeah, just mentioned it earlier in the podcast here. It's just like literally when you're in the city center, it's like every other girl is pretty much a stunner. There's so many cute girls here, so you have so much volume to approach, unlike in the US, depending on where you live, where, for example, me, I'll be walking around for a couple hours, maybe you might do one approach, but here it's like literally every other girl is a stunner. So just the volume alone, that's the biggest difference so far. Obviously you're here, you have a little bit more value. So obviously the receptiveness is there a little bit as well, but it's still a myth that just because you're a foreigner that, all the girls are going to be into you. You still need to know what you're doing. So I think that's a little bit of a myth of, just go to Ukraine or some of these other countries and it's pretty much game on. That's a little bit of a myth because you still get rejected here. So you still need to kind of know what you're doing and still have quote unquote game. But no, overall, it's a lot better than the US. So much quality. And the girls are genuinely more feminine comparing to obviously girls from the West.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I was there, which was a year or so ago. I mean, obviously COVID's messed everything up, but I was there a year or so ago, and I mean, just keep going back to the same thing, really. But just the sheer volume, the volume of quality there is really, really high. And I mean, I know we've been banging the drum for Russia all through the summer, and Russia is a fantastic, without any shadow of a doubt. Russia is a fantastic place, particularly like the big cities. But I mean, really, I mean, when I was in Kiev, it was literally almost every other woman was incredibly attractive. And even in somewhere like Moscow, just because of the sheer population size, you've got like 10 million people or whatever in Moscow. It's not quite that same density where you walk down the street, it's like, whoa, 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 except for in certain parts of the city at certain parts of the day. But Kiev really does have it going on, I think.
Yeah, like it's just, I'll be eating or having a coffee. You look up, another stunner, she checks you out, then another one. So the guys watching, I can't emphasize, like, we're not lying when we say there's just so much quality here. So literally you can throw yourself and do 10, 15 approaches in a span of like 20, 25 minutes. No joke here.
And that's really what you need as well when you're starting this stuff, or when you're trying to get good at this stuff. You need to have a lot of targets to go for, really. I mean, in a small area or in a manageable area, you need to have a lot of shots to target, because you've got to practice. You've got to get that experience.
Yeah, and Tuss, you talked about before, you will desensitize yourself to beauty here, because literally every girl you're talking to is, if you take them to probably to England or the US, like you take like a 5 or 6 here, they're probably at 8 in the West. So like literally every girl you're talking here is a beauty here. So after a day or so, you pretty much desensitize yourself to beauty, because every girl here is that good looking.
Yeah. And have you found, similar to Russia, because there is a high proportion of beauty, that you will find girls are just acting kind of more down to earth? You'll get in a conversation with a girl and be like, my God, if she was in London, she'd be like literally one of the hottest girls I've seen all day. But because she's in Ukraine, surrounded by beauty, actually they act a lot more normal and just relaxed, because beauty is not a commodity. Have you been finding that as well?
Yeah, definitely. So like the girls who are actually willing to stay in conversation, there's no, am I allowed to swear or no? Like there's no bitchiness or there's sassiness. There's a little bit of princess behavior, but it's more in a playful and kind of like testing kind of way. But yeah, you're right. There's no like that attitude, that hard personality. So as you mentioned, there's so many cute girls here. I guess, not to sound in a bad way, but they have to maybe bring something else to the table, right? So meaning that they do generally are more warm and they have better personalities and they're more like quote unquote down to earth. So that's definitely what I found definitely true being here in Kiev.
So we want to clear up some myths about the place. So we'll come on to the hordes of Turkish guys charging around with their dicks in their hands in a second. But first of all, do Russian and Ukrainian girls speak English? How's the English level you found so far, Mr. M, having been there for a couple of weeks?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of funny. Obviously, when you talk about the younger demographic, so girls between 20 to 40, most of them do know English. I have, though, come across some who don't. And that obviously comes from the background or their education level. But again, though, even if they don't know English, if a girl is into you, and this has happened to me before, they'll pull out their phones, or I'll tell them, all right, pull up Google Translate. So English, obviously, if they speak it, it'll be good. But that's not a barrier, because I've been on dates. I'm sure you guys have been on dates with Google Translate. But yes, I think most of them do speak English. Some of them don't. But the thing is, if they don't, and if they like you, you can use Google Translate. So there's no excuses.
Yeah. I was actually in Russia the other night. I was on a date, 100% Google Translate.
Really?
Much. And we're just and we're just sitting there, and like I'm typing in my cheesy lines and showing them, and she's laughing, and then typing as do the whole thing, and you get into the flow of it pretty quickly, actually. And it's not a barrier to. It's not a barrier to entry, let's say.
Were you doing the until you said her, I was like, Jesus Christ, Tom Terrari's Parkinson's has gone downhill. Now you can only communicate via texting. Yeah. But can you Do you ever bother with the speaking version, or were you just doing the kind of?
Sometimes the problem with the speaking version is that sometimes it's a bit temperamental and it doesn't quite pick up what you say properly. So then you have to go in and type over anyway because it comes up with some weird things. So I do sometimes, but it just sometimes it's actually just easier to sit there and type. Strangely.
I know,
particularly like when I was in Timeless, the shisha bar, because it's quite, obviously they're playing music and stuff. There's that as well, so it's almost kind of cool to just sit there and type and show her, and then she shows you something or whatever.
Yeah, and the other thing, using that kind of David Goggins-esque mindset. For those of you who haven't listened to his book, Can't Hurt Me, which is a very, very good book about kind of mental toughness and resilience.
Yeah,
everything's an opportunity to learn. So the benefit to not speaking the language, obviously, and having, if she really doesn't speak any English, is you can work on that, those other areas, because we all know the verbals don't actually account for as much as we think they do.
Yeah.
It's the way you say stuff and your body language, which holds far higher weight, which is up to about 80% of what you're communicating. So the ability to do what Mr. B does, the guy that you met in Helsinki, Troy, the Australian guy living in Oslo, who hasn't got the best banter, if we're being honest, but he's very good with his eye contact. Watching him in places like Colombia and Brazil was great because all he does is use his eyes. There's not much else going on. And he's kind of developed that through not being able to speak the language because he's too lazy. He's a bogan. Monkeys.
That's a great point. And when I was in Odessa, same thing like Troy, I went on all Google Translate, just typing date, and it was super full on. But yeah, James and Troy, as you guys mentioned, it's not really so much about the communication. It's about the reading the body language, facial expressions. So yes, obviously it helps if she speaks English, but that's not really all that matters. So even if she doesn't speak any, even on a Google Translate date, that gives you an excuse to sit next to her. So obviously you can escalate the touching, but yeah, just based on like her body movements and body language, that's pretty much more important actually than the communication itself.
100%. And I think it's for our comfort, if anything, really. It's because we feel more comfortable speaking English, but you don't need it. I mean, look, the flip side to that is, do you want to sit there and do five dates a day with Google Translate? Not really. But again, having been to Ukraine, I'd say the English levels are higher than Russia. And having been in Russia recently, actually the English levels were pretty decent amongst the younger generation. So you don't need to worry about lack of English.
Exactly. Well, we can overstate the case because actually a lot of the younger people do speak pretty good English, or at least good enough English for the purposes of going on a date or whatever. So it's not this massive problem that people seem to think it is anyway.
Why are German birds angry in bed too? We'll leave that one to another day. But this guy can't type without caps? I think the cap lock is I think he's lost his hand in one of the wars, and he only has a hook. And he just presses the computer on. It just comes at permanently caps. Is Russia and Ukraine, it's safe, and are the girls easy to hook up with? So let's talk about that.
Well, it depends. Well, safe is obviously covers a lot of things. I mean, yes, in general, the big cities, certainly in Russia, the big cities are safe. But like anywhere, obviously there is crime, etc., etc. If you go to some slightly more backwater places, I mean, I'm sure, dodgy things happen. You've got to have your wits about you. But in general, certainly from the Russia side of things, pretty safe, I would say.
Biological warfare wise, you want to be careful. You want to bring out some skins, let's put it that way, because it has the highest rate, fastest rising rate of HIV in Europe, weirdly. Make sure they might look beautiful, but they've got claws in many a different formats. So I'd wear.
Kiev's pretty safe as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, the actual places, you're not going to run into any trouble. It's a very safe place. This is less of a mafia state than say Putin's Russia.
Remember as well, I mean, these are very big, and these are very big cities in Russia as well. These are big cities. There's a lot of police around. They want international people to be there. It's not really an issue. I think if you go to some of the more backwater towns and places, then maybe. But what we're talking about here is the capital city is a very big country, so it's not really an issue.
Yeah, Kiev. I mean, pretty much people are out all night. You can walk around nothing's happened. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
No issues here.
Oh, the
And-
girls you to hook up with.
Yeah, this is the standard thing, isn't it? I mean,
Uh,
by default, just because you put yourself in a place of extreme beauty where lots of women are hot, if you hook up with a couple of decent girls, you're going to basically, which is all you need to do, really. We always talk about this, but on a trip, you only need to get lucky, in inverted commas, twice, i.e., meet 2 girls that you gel with and that you're attracted to. Obviously, putting yourself in a place like Ukraine, where there's a high proportion of beauty, it makes that job so much easier because you're not hunting around for a diamond in a haystack, are you? You're hunting around. Essentially, you've got a lot of options because a lot of girls good looking, and you're going to gel with probably 1 or 2 of those, and that's all you need to do.
Yeah. I think, well, I don't know. I mean, my sense of it, obviously from the recent Russia trip at least, and actually from when I was last in Ukraine, is I mean, it always seems with questions like this, the guy is just looking for that place where you step off the plane and it's like you go up to the girl, hey, and you're in bed with her 2 hours later, and it's a bit of a myth that anywhere like that really exists. I mean, obviously things like that, yes, they do happen, but in general, anywhere you go, you're going to have a bit of game. You're going to have something about you. You're going to have to bring some value to the table. Now in our, say me and James in Russia, for example, we had a certain amount of exotic value. We had a certain amount of appeal because we were British and we were sort of a bit of a novelty and those things, and they were fascinated with London and stuff. So, from our specific cultural background, we had a little bit of, kind of enhanced value there. But even still, it doesn't mean that it's a free pass. You've still got to know what you're doing. You will still get rejections. You'll still get blowouts. You still got to go through the process, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my thought on it. Really, I mean, they are very, very good countries to go to do this stuff. Is it like, oh, you just get off the plane and it's just easy pickings? No.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say it's the wrong mindset, but yeah, you shouldn't just be thinking of going somewhere just for easy hookups, because yes, even here in Ukraine, I'm from the US, you guys are from England, we do have more value, but that's not just the end all be all. You still need to have game. Some girls may require a couple of dates. Like, for example, tonight I'm seeing a girl for the second time. I was already out with her one time. I did bring her back to my place. It wasn't 100% closed, but maybe for her, it takes maybe a date or 2 more. So it just depends, and you do need to know what you're doing. So it's not just a case where, you say you come here, I'm from here, and you think that it's automatically going to be game on. That's not true. And again, you're dealing with higher, better looking quality girls. So it's just, again, that's a little bit of a myth, and it's a wrong mindset just trying to go somewhere for easy hookups, because everywhere girls are girls and require some sort of game.
Yeah, and have you found that, similar to my experience in Dessa, and actually parts of Russia as well, it's actually a lot easier on the front end, but it becomes more testing on the back end. So by that, I mean it's easier to actually get on dates, but then girls are coming out on dates not necessarily with the mindset of, I'm going to sleep with this guy. It's more to kind of test you and see what you're about.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why, like, it's good to kind of filter out between time wasters, because, I'll talk to a few girls and, you can tell that maybe they just want to go out with you just to practice their English or whatever. And so, yeah, it is easy, as you mentioned, to, schedule dates. But then once you get on, then that's where you really have to know whether or not she's actually into you, or if this is going to be like a time waster or whatever the case may be.
I suppose actually on that note, another myth about Ukraine in particular is this idea about gold diggers, and like, oh no, they're all gold diggers, blah blah blah. They all just want an American passport and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's a myth, because, like I said, I got everywhere you get rejected, and I'm sure that's true for some girls, but that's not all. I think people just pay attention too much to the reality TV shows, but that's a full-blown myth. It's not true.
Well, I'm sure we know there are, say, mail order bride websites, and then kind of, if you're stupid enough as an old guy with money to go down that route, then you're going to get scammed. I mean, it's just, I'm sure there's obviously a stereotype there because it does exist. Yeah. But we're not putting ourselves remotely in that arena. I mean, we're doing literally the opposite, which is basically starting from nothing, making it incredibly hard for ourselves, where we could be leading with a proverbial wallet, couldn't we?
But it's more so rewarding though, doing it the genuine way.
It's obviously it's a no-brainer, right? Because you want to be dating on those terms.
I mean, the girls that are living in Kiev in general. I mean, look, it's of course it's a relatively poor country, and but nevertheless, I mean, certainly the girls in Kiev are sort of. I mean, they tend to have professional jobs. They tend to have pretty good lives. It's not that this is some sort of third world place where everybody's just completely screwed into financially or economically. I mean, so you are dealing with a slightly different sort of caliber of people here. That and there's this whole myth even about Russia. People say, oh, the girls just they're gold diggers and stuff like that. It's like Moscow's one of the richest cities on the planet. What are you talking about? We're meeting women who are richer than us.
Yeah,
we're the gold diggers.
At no point was there any hint of when me and Troy were traveling around of any dates with any girls who were kind of after the finances at all.
No.
The only thing, which is again pretty traditional, is the girl does expect you to pay on the first couple of dates, but that's normal all around. So that's not, I think you qualify as gold digger. That's just more traditional, normal. But yeah, I agree. It's not like what you hear about these myths.
Yeah. Have you made it to a bar called Hangover Bar yet? It's my fake, not Hangover Bar. Fuck, what's the name? Maybe it is called Hangover Bar.
Hangover Bar? No, I will. There's a lot of cool rooftop bars here.
Let me find it on my Instagram. They have my favorite bar, one of my world's, not quite, missing the shisha, Mr. Francis, so not like that shisha bar in Sochi, but still one of the best bars I've ever been to, and I'll find the name out for you. You've got to go, Mr. M. It's brilliant. It's kind of a hidden speakeasy, does amazing cocktails, and it's the ratio is always like 80% women for no reason, and there's no men in there, and it's just so fucking good.
Nice, definitely. Let me know.
I will find out now what the name is. Maybe it's not here. Who knows? Any funny stories? Everyone loves a rejection story. Any funny blowouts or dates to nowhere, or generally watching the world burn? Anything like that that's been going on?
Yeah. I mean, the first night I had an instant date because I was just walking around. I just threw my stuff in the Airbnb because when I was in my taxi coming here, I was just noticing all the cute girls, and I just wanted to get out and start approaching. So met a girl at one of the shopping centers and then pretty much spent the rest of the night with her. We went on an instant date. I brought her back to her place. And then afterwards, I think I texted you guys. I picked up a typical American. I picked up a Domino's pizza on my way back. And then I caught a live stream of you guys. I was just like so tired.
Perfect
so
evening,
hungry.
really.
Perfect evening, exactly. I was still in my airport clothes. Because I didn't change. I just threw everything to my Airbnb and I didn't come back until morning. So that was pretty funny. And then, just in terms of like the blowouts, again, nothing like harsh. It's just funny and not taking it, again, too seriously. Again, we put so much pressure on ourselves and we think that, the world's going to end just because a girl says no, but that's not the case. There was kind of a funny thing. I think, James, I mentioned it to you. Like some homeless guy said something to me because I approached the girl. Like he was walking, but then he stopped when I approached the girl to kind of observe me. And, I don't know if he was white knighting or whatever the case may be, but the girl wasn't receptive. So afterwards, the guy was like mumbling something to me, but I just ignored it. I thought that was kind of funny. He was like, he had nothing else better to do in his day but to watch me approach a girl. So that was kind of funny. And just the some of the not reactions, but again, they're good reactions when you just open up in English, because when you speak fluent English, and I'm sure you guys saw this in Russia, you do get a lot of attention. So just some of the reactions that you get right away from girls, like, oh wow, this guy speaks really good English, is quite funny as well. So again, I mean, guys coming here, you'll see it for yourselves. It's a great place. And again, you're talking to some of the world's hottest women, so it's win-win for all.
Yeah, for sure. Loggerhead is the name of the bar, by the way. I found it out.
Loggerhead. Okay.
Loggerhead. You've got to go there, both of you, when you get a chance. To speak easy, so you have to you'll find the address on Google. You walk down this kind of dark alleyway. You knock on the door, and they kind of let you in. It's not
right.
advertised openly, and it's just a sick place to sit inside. B, they do incredible drinks, and C, there's always just massive amounts of talent sitting around. It's a great date spot. But if not, even if it's just you two going for like a chilled drink, you'll have a blast because it's just you can sit at the bar.
It looks
and
sweet.
Loads of hot girls.
Sounds good.
It looks like that one we went to in Warsaw, James. Cocktail Max.
It's better than that.
Sure.
It's Cocktail Match is kind of more, I guess, not trashy, but yeah, along those lines.
What did you
Give me
think
one
of
sec,
Jack
guys. Hold on. Give me one. You carry on. Hold on.
Okay. Well, here we are. But no, it's gonna be a blast, though, isn't it, man? I mean, I'm really looking forward to getting over there.
Yeah, definitely. It's my first time. You've been here before, but this is literally like I can't really compare. I haven't gamed in Russia yet, but I can't really think of any cities thus far to compare in terms of the quality. It's just absolutely can't emphasize it enough here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just wandering around and like, you know, just the sheer wealth of beauty there is really off the scale, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Tusk, I was gonna ask you, were you much of a fan of Timeless then? Because I'm pretty much buying the t-shirt now. I thought it was brilliant. I went about 3 times.
Really? Jesus Christ. The one thing
I know, it's really bad, actually. And then I went for a run. I went for a run the day before yesterday, and I was like, my time was really down. I was like, Jesus, I need to knock this on the head. Yesterday was a bit better, though. But apparently they were set up by this guy who went to Oxford. But they're just really, really cool. I mean, just good vibe, man.
It is a good vibe. I still prefer, I think, the one in Sochi. I think the quality of the shisha and the ambience is unbeatable. And when you have 4 different people doing menial jobs, making it seem like it's an important job, then you know you're in a winner of a place.
The tea
master, shisha master, cocktail maker, waitress,
Dick and ham master.
Yeah, it's just you can't be. I would actually almost fly to Sochi just for a weekend to just know that I'm going to go there one evening. The quality of the shisha as well. Like we're getting old, so we notice we're fragile beings. We notice when we smoke bad shisha, because we both feel fucking rough, and it makes me a bit anxious. My heart starts racing. Whereas when we had the shisha there, the quality's so high that there's just no issue with it.
Troy, I did find I texted you. I did find a very good shisha bar Turkish restaurant that I'll take you to. I think the quality there is great as well.
Yeah,
right on the main street.
It's worth you Googling about that, because Ukraine is known in Eastern Europe as having the most shisha bars, I think, per square inch. It's a bit like UK with CCTV. You've got the most shisha bars in Europe in Ukraine. So there must be 1 or 2 that are absolutely shit hot. I'd pay for a high-end one. Knowing that it's not going to cost much, but it will keep out the riffraff. And the quality of the women, presumably, sitting there with their friends, will be through the roof as well. It's worth doing some research, I reckon.
Yeah.
But yeah, why are we talking about Ukraine? For those of you that have been living under a rock or it's glossed over you, we are running a boot camp 30th of September, which is not this Thursday, the following Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 30th of September till the 3rd of October. We've still got a space remaining. It's going to be a blast, isn't it? It's basically Russia, but you don't have to fuck around with the visa, and it's cheaper, and arguably there's more hot girls. So basically all the good shit from Russia, minus the things that kind of get in the way, minus the barriers to entry, and Bob's your uncle, and it's one of the best places in the world to kind of train yourself, desensitize yourself to beauty. Your standards will change, so within day 2 or day 3, you're suddenly going to be like, fuck, okay, yeah, I'm kind of just comfortable around these women because there's so many hot girls. You just sort of become normalized to it. It's such an understated part of going to a place with a load of hot women, but it's so important.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, kind of like when I went to Serbia, their high level concentration of quality, hotness, and then afterwards, it's kind of like, you don't really have that fear of approaching a cute girl, and then you start to have a little bit of standards. Then you kind of look at, all right, how does she act? How's her personality? So definitely here in Kiev, you will feel that and experience that, because we just keep on harping on this, but
Yeah.
there's so many quality here that every girl that you approach will be a absolute 8 or 9 everywhere else in the world.
Yeah,
absolutely. We might be able to do a bit of potentially we'll do some live streaming from there, Mr. M, as well, and maybe
that's
a bit
a
of
great idea.
maybe a little bit of the old live approaching, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
if you can
there's
get
the
some
quality
TikTok
here.
stuff, slap it on TikTok or Instagram Live, and then we can upload it as well anyway to YouTube.
Yeah.
No
So
brainer.
a filthy casual in the comments is talking about some stuff about Mr. M and Troy standing there like filming like a choke. What you've got to do, guys, is go to the From Russia with Love playlist on my channel, and I think it's called the same thing on Tuss channel, and watch the hours and hours and hours of live infield footage that we made in Russia. Both of us approaching, hours and hours worth of content of us approaching. So go and watch it, guys, because it's groundbreaking stuff. Nobody's ever done it before. Yeah, I mean, the standard has been set, and nobody has really stood up to that bar yet, have they? In the
No.
industry,
Who is this? What's filthy casual we're talking about? Some girl I already knew.
I don't know. I think he's just having some banter. But yeah, guys, listen, watch the From Russia with Love live streams that we did, because there's just
And
so
the
much
Easter egg. The Easter egg is somehow seeing Steve Jabber in the background, which is unlikely because we all know he's massively anti-vax. So it's a wonder that he got in. But you can see he is actually standing in the background, disguised, wearing sunglasses, pretending that we won't have noticed.
Yeah. So Uncle Joe's opening up the United States for British visitors from November.
I saw that, but that's great because that's going to also distract from the prize, isn't it? It's a good red herring. So send off all the troops to the US, let them do their thing over there, whereas we're charging around places like Brazil, Colombia, Ukraine, Russia. Fine by me.
Yeah.
Absolutely no desire to go to the US. Yeah.
No. Some guy mentioned in the comments about New York City, if we ever did any approaching. I have. It's great for volume, but I don't know. People in New York have a little bit of a attitude. It's like the opposite of Kiev, even though they're both capital cities. I mean, New York is this, fast-paced environment. It's good for quality, but the girls there are a little bit more sassy, and they have a little bit more of an attitude themselves. I mean, I did it a few times. I've never lived in New York, but if you just want to get a lot of approaches, then it's probably one of the better cities in the U.S.
Yeah, I've done some approaching there as well, and I mean, it's like you say, great volume. It's a very walkable city. There's a lot, so there are good things about it. Definitely, I've had some success there, but I don't want to say entirely because of this, but I think the British card helped me a little bit. I mean, in general, in New York, people aren't really that impressed if you're from London because they're like, yeah, who cares? But there are some girls there who are maybe from different parts of the US, and they're like, oh my god, this British, blah blah blah. So I think for that reason, I've had some successes there, but it's not the easiest place. It's like London or something like that,
Yeah, London on steroids, high volume. But to be honest, I've been trying to run a boot camp there for several years for the Fashion Week because the best time to go is in fall in September. So hopefully this year, 2022, we can run one there. There is a lot of guys who want coaching there. There's a big fan base there. So yeah, I think it's actually a good place probably to run a boot camp.
And it's a great place. Obviously, it's a fantastic place anyway. It's still a great city. So,
yeah, we'll have a blast there. So hold that space. What else about Ukraine? Anything else to say?
Like I said, if the guys want to talk about live stream approaching, the volume is here to do it. So we can definitely think of maybe replicating some of the things you guys did in Moscow or St. Petersburg, and we'll just show the guys.
If you can get some live stream. If you can get a nice lazy day game spot in an amazing shisha bar, and it's just got worldies coming past, you could do a live stream kind of shisha, and then the occasional approach thrown in. It'd be great.
Yeah, which Mr. M actually did in Berlin. To be fair, although we didn't really get the approach on camera, but we were doing a live stream. Yeah, we were doing a live stream, and Mr. M was showed he's walking the walk, not just talking the talk, and went off and did an approach during the live stream, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, so we'll just to show A, that the quality is here, and B, just to kind of show guys this is what we're actually doing, it basically what we're saying. So I think it would be a good idea to do a few things when you come.
That's a really good idea. And where should guys be staying if they are looking to come into the city? Where are you guys going to set up shop?
Yeah, so there's the city center, and then if you can stay anywhere near I can't pronounce it, James. I'll ping it to you. Krishak Street. I can post it here in our chat. But basically, anywhere there, you're good to go because most of our activity is going to be centered around this street. Obviously,
Right.
we're going to be walking around in other areas, but ideally, you want to be here. Unlike Berlin, in which it's just a massive place, here in Kiev, it's more centralized. So you can, when you stay here, basically all your date spots are going to be here. Most of your approaching is going to be here, and pretty much all the action is going to be here. So I posted in our chat, James, if you want to
Nice one.
take a look.
Yeah, all good. And yeah, for guys that are wondering, you can get a sick hotel. It's about half the price of Russia, I think. Kiev, or even cheaper. I mean, you could be staying in a fucking amazing place for next to nothing.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, just to mention, so we're going to do a free meetup in Kiev, Ukraine, Tuesday the 28th. Get in touch, send Troy an email.
Troy@realtroyfrancis.com.
Or myself an email, info@jamestuss.com, and include your WhatsApp number. We'll add you to the group, and it'll be us meeting you in some sort of bar, probably in the evening on the Tuesday, and a great opportunity to just come down and say hello. And if you've got value from any of our content or you've got any questions and you are in Kiev, it'll be great to see you.
And to meet the other guys as well.
To meet Wings as well. That's the other thing to remember. Yeah. We've done this a few times now in Berlin and Poland and blah, blah, blah. And it's great because if you're coming down solo, you've been watching content, but you're like, fuck all my mate, I've turned 30, 35, all my mates are settled down with women or whatever, as men do, you kind of lose that band of brothers. You need to be, if you're wanting to travel, if you wanted to get out there and do some approaches with other people, you need to be finding guys on that same page. And again, the relating fact here is obviously you watch all of our content and we try and put out the idea of just normality with this stuff. So you probably will meet guys you're going to get on with naturally via the fact you're all watching the same stuff. So absolutely, yeah. Venue TBC, we'll message the guys on the group on WhatsApp. We don't want to kind of publicize it, but somewhere in the center, a cool kind of bar. And it'll be obviously no charge for that.
And depending on the amount of guys that come up, there's a special surprise at the end for the meetup for some of the guys.
Are you going to get your strap on out again? We're not in Kit Kat Club. You come on. We said no, not that outside.
Keep the secret. No, that's that's just going to be a secret. So we'll reveal it when the meetup does happen. So for those who do show up, I'm sure it'll be a good surprise at the end.
And finally, how has it been adapting to this new lifestyle, Mr. M? Because obviously, got eagle-eyed viewers will remember you from me and you charging around in Belgrade 2 or 3 years ago to the fact that you now have basically quit your job. You've left the US and you're traveling full time, helping us out with this stuff. There's talk of even you developing your own brand, which would be great to see. Have you set up a YouTube channel yet, or are you in the process of that?
Yeah, I'll ping my channel to you. But yeah, overall, I have my own, aside from this, my own real estate company that I've been wanting to take full time. So I've been doing that, and then obviously this traveling. Basically, since Belgrade, we talked about it, James. Every year I was taking solo trips. Best time, but then coming back to the States, back to the corporate job, you kind of go from that super high to kind of like, oh shit, have to deal with this again, and you have to wait until the next year to take your vacation. But no, it's been a blast. It is a little bit tiring at times because everyone thinks it's like all fun and games. Which, it's good, but there's a lot to it that people don't realize. But it's more pros than cons.
No, 100%. But yeah, no, it becomes, we always want grass always greener. So when we're, charging around to place to place to place, it's incredibly exciting. It's literally like a drug, stimulating those dopamine receptors in your brain. But at the same time, a lot of kind of life admin stuff potentially gets pushed to one side. And then eventually you've got to do what kind of I've done the last 3-4 weeks, which is basically return to a place somewhere like London where nothing really is going on, and just kind of crack on with the boring side of it. I mean, the ultimate thing would be to juggle it all together, but it can be you've got to pick and choose your battles. So it's just how it is.
You need those bits of downtime, I think, probably.
Yeah, you do. But otherwise, it's like a kind of Die Hard 4 action trailer sequence, isn't it? But it gets not boring, but it becomes the norm. And you actually crave a bit of stability, and so then you got to listen to your mind, and when you're really feeling like that, it is better just to put yourself with some downtime.
So then you move to Croydon and get married.
Yeah, but then overall, it's just basically taking control of your life and making sure that you're kind of building it to the kind of life that you want to live, which is what you guys did, and kind of inspired me to do that as well. So I mean, overall, it's been fun and it's just been very rewarding. So can't wait to see how the next few months and year play out to be.
Yeah, it should be a blast. I'm just going to put Mr. M's link to Mr. M's channel. So head over and start subscribing to that, lads. That should be good. As you build that up in the future, that'll be really cool. Any final thoughts? So what have we got? Just a recap for the guys out there. Meetup Berlin, not Berlin, not Kit Kat Cup. Get it out of your mind. The safety word's not banana. Meetup in Kiev in a location TBC. Send either myself or Troy an email, and we will add you to the WhatsApp group. And that's a free meetup Tuesday, the 28th in Kiev in the evening, probably around 7, 8 p.m. for a couple of hours. Great opportunity to come down and meet us and then meet some wings as well. And then we've also got the boot camp. So we've got one space available, the 30th, Thursday, the 30th of September till the 3rd of October, 4 days. We've got a couple of guys signed up doing all 4 days. If you want to just train for 1 day to get a flavor of it, we can also squeeze you in. So the total price of the bootcamp is £2,479 or £699 per day. Minimum you can do is a day, or you could do 2 days, 3 days, whatever. If you want to talk to us about that face to face, then obviously come down on the Tuesday and we can answer any questions, and maybe an opportunity for you to meet us and us to basically allay any fears over a shisha pipe and some more stories.
I mean, obviously, get in touch, Troy at realtroyfrancis.com. We will get on the phone with you and have a chat with you about it. If you've got any questions, if you've got any things that aren't clear or whatever, we'll be happy to have a chat with you prior to you, signing up for it.
Yeah, the key thing is just send either me or Troy an email and include your WhatsApp, and then anything you need, we can figure it out on WhatsApp. That is our place of business. There's a link to Mr. M's channel there. So guys, head over and subscribe. We want to get Mr. M's channel as big as we can, as quick as we can.
And just a quick comment. There's a few videos coming out. We just got done with Warsaw and Berlin, some of the student experiences. So, the guys will be kind of hearing our recent testimonials, and they said that it's been fantastic. So obviously, we expect to continue that with the upcoming boot camp here in Kiev, but just hearing some of the experiences from Berlin and Warsaw, just hearing their experiences and literally a couple of days, not even the whole boot camp, just a couple of days, what it did for them.
One guy literally said it was life-changing, didn't he?
Yeah, he was. I think it was Mr. D, right?
Yeah.
In Berlin, he was literally like blown away, and it felt very satisfying, and it felt very humble. But he's like, yeah, man, I mean, he never knew that this existed, or he heard about it, but actually implementing into practice, he was blown away. And he said that literally, it was transformational, and he was just like unbelievable.
Yeah, university said great things about you guys. All the guys I spoke to post Berlin, but yeah, they were all blown away by it. To be honest, I don't know what you did to them. What you said.
What happened to days in Berlin?
Yeah, they loved it. They couldn't get enough of it. They were literally so excited. But you're right. I don't think he'll care about us saying his name. But the guy called Dylan, he was especially blown away. He couldn't believe it. In fact, they all couldn't believe it. They all absolutely loved it.
Which is great, and it's testament really, because Berlin is a fantastic place. It's a great city, a lot of fun, and there are a lot of very attractive women here. But in terms of sheer concentration, Kiev really has the edge. I think it's fair to say. Wouldn't you say, Mr. M? Because obviously you travel just literally between the two.
I mean, it's polar opposites. Basically, Troy, Berlin, it takes 40 minutes to get somewhere. We were always on the subway. It got tiring after a while. Here, everything is in the city center. You don't have to take any transportation. Everything is walking, and everything is concentrated in one area where you can do all the approaching. You can take all the dates, instant dates, and then just kind of hang out. So literally, it's a great city for everything, pretty much.
Great. Yeah. Well, on that note, guys, final roundup, 28th of September, next Tuesday, free meetup in Kiev, location TBC. Send us an email, include your WhatsApp. And then the boot camp 2 days later, Thursday the 30th till the 3rd of October. It's going to be a blast. There is still room, so get in touch and we can have a chat, and it'd be great to meet some of you. And what have you got planned for the day, Mr. M?
So after this, it's going to go work out, kind of hang out a bit. Then I have a date later in the afternoon.
Oh, afternoon date. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, afternoon. The girl still lives with, she's a university student. She still lives with her parents, and she usually has to go back home at night. So that's why I kind of pushed it up a little bit earlier in the day. But it's my second date with her. And as mentioned before, sometimes you need to play a little bit of a long game and take them out on a couple of dates. But she's
100%.
really cool. I like her. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have going on today.
And yourself, Mr. Francis, what's the plan?
Got the dentist.
You always seem to have the dentist. Every day you've got the dentist. Are you banging the dentist?
I've had 2 dentist appointments this week. That's one of the things I'm back for. So I've got that in a bit, and then to meet a mate later, I think. So we will see how it goes. But it's good to be back in London. But I'm also looking forward to getting on that plane again and getting out.
It's a good. I've decided London is a great place just to do life admin and basically not do anything else. Stroll around, do a bit of shopping, do some life admin, but not bother to get investing yourself any more in the city than that. Just kind of preparing yourself for the next trip. And I think that's for me, that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. The London has its benefits. Let's be honest. When we've been away for a period of time, we come back, we do like it.
100%.
It's a great place to be in summer. It's a great place to be in Christmas. But exploring the world is just so much more fun, knowing that London's in our back pocket and at any time we can come back if we really want to.
Well, I've still got my foot more in this particular camp than you have, James, because obviously I've got this flat here, so I'm sort of but going forward, it's a question, and this is for another live stream really, but it's a question of thinking, so what are your priorities? Do you want to take that plunge and be like full-time nomadic, which is a question that I need to answer really, probably going.
Well, one thing on that note, one thing guys who are watching can do, which has been really helpful for me, and it's something I do every couple of years. It's this Jordan Peterson's future self-authoring thing, which costs about $20 online. And he basically gets you to write out why you've got to this point in life and what you want in future, and actually just writing it down has been life-changing for myself and for a lot of guys, I think. And there's no affiliation there, but just Google Jordan Peterson's future self-authoring, and it's high-level stuff, because very rarely do people actually write down what they want, and it really helps assimilate those thoughts from your brain into actual reality, thinking, right, do I actually want that? Do I want that? So maybe if you're watching this, guys, and you're on a bit of a knife edge, dancing on the edge of a knife as to what to do with your future, then,
as Alex,
as Mr. Forrest would say, then do Jordan Peterson future self-authoring. It's really good. It will take you about 2 days to fill it out, and it will just help clarify things. Cool. On that note, we'll see you all in Kiev. It's been a pleasure as usual, guys, and we'll chat soon.
Take care. See you.
Bye-bye.